This is the craziest coloring hack, and I can't believe nobody does this. Why? Why hasn't anybody thought of this before? Just a week ago, I nearly electrified Big Bird working on a technique. I nailed it. Not only did I nail it, you would not believe what the key and crucial ingredient in my crazy concoction is. I nearly threw it out. I actually did throw it out, and just as I was creating, I looked over in the garbage and I said, maybe. Pulled it out and got one of the nicest laydowns. I made the craziest happy accident, and I'm going to teach it to you today. The great thing about it, I already tested it, it won't explode. Today we're working on a picture by Mario Labudak. Doesn't matter if you're using the line drawing or the grayscale. Either way, this is going to work. I've done a little bit of modification on this. First of all, when you buy it, her head is not going to be this big. She's smaller. I took it back over to PicMonkey and I made some changes in her for my own personal picture. I wanted her face to be more of the center point than her whole entire body. And I added a dark background to her to be printed, only because of time. If you know how to work PicMonkey, it's a very easy way of doing it. I'm going to show it to you how to do it in another video. If not, do it the way it is. It's going to work out. You can use any picture. It's going to work out. This is the most amazing hack. Now, not too long ago, I received a large number of water-based markers, and I was very vocal about not liking this company, and it was because they were advertising them as watercolor markers when they were just plain old water markers, and I was never really a fan of water markers to begin with. Now, I like the case that these markers came in, so I kept it, and it was just that I'm cleaning up right now my supplies. I pulled them all out of the case. I deposited them into the garbage. And there they were going to be taken out because the garbage gets taken out tonight. Started working back on my concoction of art supplies that will give me a bright, glowing effect using pencils. I looked over and I saw these markers and I said, no, that can't be the ingredient I was missing. And it was. So let's take a look at what we're going to need. A tube of titanium gouache. I'm using M. Graham & Company. I will leave it in the description box. This is a good quality gouache. It makes a big difference. You don't want a translucent gouache. You want something that's nice and creamy. You're going to need the picture. I printed this out on the good Nene paper, not the one that says semi-textured. I blew her up. I put on the background. And that's only to save time, because I have to do this and I don't have all the time of the day to put the total tone on the background. So I just gave myself a helping hand. You can print out any of the ones of this picture. She gives you choices, whichever one you like the best. I chose this one. The fact that it's grayscale is not going to help in any way. We're going to go right over that grayscale. You're going to need a container with a wet paper towel on the bottom and a lid. And that's it. You don't even need to clean up after this because there's going to be no mess. We're going to start with a little dollop will do ya of the white titanium on the wet paper towel. This will help keep the moisture in the paint because gouache dries out really quickly. When you are not using it, cover it up, and your paint will last much, much longer. Okay, I'm going to start on the leaves, and I've chosen a marker. This is like a golden yellow. There is no markings of the color, but this is just happens to be the color I'm starting with. And I'm going to use the brush tip. This must be a water marker. The cheap ones, go with Crayola. As long as it has a brush tip, they are very inexpensive. Do not go out and do this with your alcohol markers. Those are much more expensive. You could buy a ton of these for $18. What you want to do is you're going to get out your gouache. Now, on the side here, I have another picture that I'm going to be using just to mix on. I'm going to take my gouache, go to my test picture. Could be a scrap. And I'm going to just go until the marker shows through. Okay, there we go. Very little on the tip. And I'm going to go paint on the leaves. This feels like a combination of marker and paint. Okay. It'll go on pretty opaque. And then I'm going to do the other one, the other side. Now, what's nice about this is sometimes it's going to be a little bit translucent and yellow, and other times it's going to turn a creamy yellow, giving you instant tone on the picture, just like that. Now, you could pick up a little bit more of the gouache. Or a little bit less, and let the yellow from the marker go through. Okay. That's as simple as that is. Take a little bit. Just work it into the page so that the yellow starts to come through. It did. Move on to the next one. It is so quick and easy. And you're just letting that paint dry. By the time you're done with these leaves, it'll be ready for another coat. So see how it's mottled? Some of it has marker, some of it has gouache mixed with marker. So it has like a creamy texture. And then do it again. See, there's no mess, no paints to clean up. Yet it looks, feels, acts like paint. And a cross between a paint and a marker. Talk about Posca being old now. Can you imagine you could pay under $50 and have every color of Posca? Because that's basically what this looks like, is Posca. Or you could pay Posca prices and watch Posca dry up. Now, the great thing about this is it doesn't clog the nib because it's a water base. So even if it got a little bit dry on there, it's water. It'll come right off. You can make it as translucent as you want or as opaque. Now we're going to go over here. I think I'm going to put in a little creaminess. Have you ever done a picture this fast? It's creating its own tones. I cannot believe I nearly threw this out. It was in the garbage. And you move on to the next. It's this quick. Now, I really should have the cover on the gouache, but it looks like it's staying pretty moist. Have you ever had 4 leaves look like that? 5 leaves in less than 10 minutes? Give me an hour, and I will have perfect artwork. Now, I have one more of this. Well, actually 2 more. And then I'm going to add a little bit of green in, and I'll show you how to do the next layer. I was flipping when this worked. I was like, and I didn't blow anything up. And not only that, it sprayed gorgeous. Like, absolutely beautiful. Sometimes simple is better. See, the difference between this was I was painting the gouache on. I'm not painting the gouache on, I'm markering it on. So it's got a much different look. And it is smooth. And what's really nice about it is that it doesn't destroy your tooth. You can color right over it. And you can use cheap paper. So if you want to work in one of your less expensive books, go ahead. It's going to work. It's going to make you look like you have 10 layers on. My hand doesn't hurt. No stress. I have one more leaf. There's another leaf down here. Look how fast that was. And look how detailed this is, just because I had the gouache on the tip. I have some tone on the paper, but it works just as well. And I'll show you how fast with that. Let the gouache stain. And there we have it. On to the second one. Here's a sample one. I had washed out the lines and took out the grayscale so that it's just really a line drawing. And watch it work the same way. Now, it's slightly brighter because it's on a whiter paper, but you take care of that by compensating with color. Adding in some white. I haven't even added in anything. Just dipped my tip of my brush. That's it. And this is why I say you don't need to have it grayscaled. This is going to work either way. Now, say you want it a little darker or a little brighter. All you have to do is get rid of the gouache. It wipes right off. And you can go in and darken things up or change up a color. So this should be dry. It's dry in 5 minutes. Once it's thoroughly dry, you take another color, a pencil, and you can add in some of the details. Okay. How hard was that? But you want to add in a tiny bit of green. Get a little bit of green going in it. It doesn't have to be all brown leaves. Look how nice it takes pencil. It's got all its tooth. Now, if I hit it harder, you would see it more. Nice and mellow. I'm going to add a little bit of red into the stem and neutralize it a bit. This is a red-brown, so that should take a lot of that harsh green away. And then you work on it as much as you want. Now let's talk about the hair. If you never want to do something for the first time, go into your darker spots. And you're going to treat it just like it was any hair. Highlight. Very easy to control where the paint is because it's only on the very tip. A little bit more white in there. Now this is striped with every color of brown now. I've got lights, I've got darks. I need a little light. I just go back and add in a little light. That's why I said this, you can work on really cheap books. Imagine what we're going to do with the lips here. So I'm going to work on this for a while, and then we'll come back and we're going to do something different with the face. Easy and beautiful that hair came out. Now I'm going to do the entire head like that. You couldn't get easier. I barely touched the page and that hair strand is done. I may put in a couple of highlights with some pencils. Like, it's a little bit too wet for me to touch it right now, but you know, I'll go in and I'll pull strands out with some pencil, but it's done. It's finished. So I'm going to start working on the rest of it, and I will snap back into it when I'm finished. I'm thrilled with the way she's coming out. I worked on it for about 2 hours. This is a lightning fast method. I've never gotten in 2 hours to this much and such detail on the page. I haven't used any sort of pencil on this part of the hair. Unfortunately, now this is the drawback on this. I wanted to take her photo real. I wanted to really go to that extra limit. I have some really bizarre plans with her. She's not going to look like this when I'm done. So stick around. This is going to get interesting. The only thing I could say right now that there is a drawback on it is when I do put my hand over the picture, while I have plenty of tooth on the page, the drawback on using watermarkers is it does fray paper, and I have to be very, very careful not to go through the paper. So I didn't use any colored pencil on it because I do need to use colored pencil later. It's going to go up a whole degree once I do. I am a little bit regretful that I did not put this on artist grade paper. I knew I should have, but it'll work out at the end. Worst comes to worst, this is not bad. I can continue and do it, but I'm going to push the limits no matter what. This was so fast and so easy that it's worth it. Now, I want you to take note on something. See this flower? See, this has not been filled in. Okay? See down here? This was purposeful. This was not filled in. So, obviously, I plan on doing something with that space that I left open. Of course, this whole entire side of her face is not done yet. And you can see on the back, right? It's not even going through. It's barely going through. Considering I'm using marker, look how little has gone through. And that's because the gouache does give it a little bit of protection. As I said, I can feel something going on in certain areas on here as far as fraying. Nothing that you will see. And if I'm playing my cards right, once I spray her, it's going to add another layer of strength. I'm going to be using the triple strength Krylon. I used that in the last picture I did, and it was crazy good. I've already tested it on this paper, and it did really well. They already did like one of her, not complete, but just some of it, just to test the spray, so we didn't like end up like Big Bird. I will see you guys in my next video. We're really going to take it up a notch. Take care. Bye-bye.